Desert encounter, the twin suns beat down mercilessly on Riker's shoulders as he trudged across the copper-colored sand dunes of New Terra. His water recycler hummed softly at his hip. The only sound besides the occasional whistle of wind through the stone arches that dotted this region of the wasteland. 3 more clicks, he muttered, checking the coordinates on his wrist display. The mineral deposits his scanner had picked up would fetch a good price back at the settlement TIFF. They were as rich as the readings suggested. As he crested another dune, something glinted in the distance. Metal, catching the harsh sunlight. Unusual in this part of the desert, where even the hardiest prospectors rarely ventured. Approaching cautiously. Rifle loose in his hands, Riker squinted against the glare. The silhouette took shape, a figure bound to a jutting rock formation by metal chains. What the hell? He breathed, quickening his pace. It was a woman, not human. Her skin shimmered with a pale blue iridescence, delicate scale-like patterns visible across her exposed shoulders. Long silver hair fell in tangled strands around a face both alien and beautiful. Anne, Astra, one of the extraterrestrials who had arrived on New Terra decades before humans claimed it as their colony. Their kind mostly kept to the northern territories after the conflict. She raised her head weakly, pupils contracting 2 vertical slits in violet eyes. Dried indigo fluid blood crusted at her temple. Don't move, Riker said, though she clearly couldn't. A crude sign hammered into the sand read in rough letters, "Traitor to both worlds." The settlement's warnings echoed in his mind. Astras can't be trusted. Their telepathic abilities will twist your thoughts. Yet looking at her, he saw only suffering. Her cracked lips parted. "Water," she whispered. The translator chip in Riker's ear, converting her harmonic language. Protocol demanded he report this to settlement security. Interacting with Astras without clearance meant severe penalties. But something in her eyes' intelligence, fear, dignity, despite her circumstance, made his decision for him. Riker unslung his canteen and held it to her lips. She drank desperately, droplets running down her chin. "Who did this to you?" he asked, examining the chains. "Advanced tech, not crude, settler work." "My own kind," she managed. "And yours." The implication sent a chill through him despite the heat. Both species working together was unprecedented since the peace accord. Riker's multi-tool made quick work of the locks. As the chains fell away, she collapsed forward into his arms, surprisingly light despite being nearly his height. "They'll come back," she warned, voice stronger now. "They always do." "Who will?" "The ones who believe the lies," she said cryptically. "You shouldn't have freed me." Riker glanced at the horizon, still empty but suddenly threatening. "Can you walk?" She nodded, steadying herself. "My shelter's half a day's journey. We'll go there, then figure the rest out." "Why help me?" she asked, watching him warily. Riker shrugged, offering his jacket against the coming night chill. "Because nobody deserves to die alone in the desert. Human or Astra?" As they moved away from the rock formation, neither noticed the small drone hovering high above, its camera lens focusing on their retreating figures. First words, twilight transformed the desert into a landscape of deep purples and blues as one. Riker and the Astra woman made their way across the cooling sand. She moved with increasing strength, though still unsteady after her ordeal. "What's your name?" Riker finally asked, breaking the silence that had stretched between them. "Neva," she replied, her voice a melodic blend of tones the translator rendered into standard speech. "And you are?" "Riker, independent prospector. I avoid the politics of the settlement, yet you involve yourself in the most political act possible," she observed. Freeing an Astra prisoner, he adjusted his pack. "I saw someone suffering. Nothing political about basic decency." Neva stopped suddenly, her violet eyes reflecting the first emerging stars. "My first words to you were a request for water. But what I need to tell you is far more important." Riker tensed, hand instinctively moving toward his weapon. "I'm not what they claimed on that sign," she continued. "I'm a historian. I discovered proof that the conflict between our species was engineered. Engineered. By whom? By those who profit from our division. There's a resource beneath this planet's crust that becomes exponentially more valuable when our species fight rather than cooperate. Her fingers traced the fading marks on her wrists. When I tried to present my findings, I became ... inconvenient. Riker's brow furrowed. That's a convenient story for someone found chained in the desert. I don't expect you to believe me immediately, Neva said. But I can show you evidence at the ancient ruins in the Crimson Canyon. Data archives neither human nor astro, but something older. The first moon rose, casting silver light across the dunes. Riker hesitated, weighing decades of warnings against the sincerity in her eyes. How did you end up chained to that rock? I trusted someone, she said simply. A human colleague named Jace Vorden. He works for Nexus Corporation. We found the archives together, but when we realized what they contained, her voice faltered. He betrayed me. Arranged for radical elements from both our kinds to deal with the problem. Riker knew Nexus, the company controlled most of New Terra's exports and held significant influence in the settlement. Councils, those chains weren't standard issue. He noted. Prototype restraints designed to suppress Astra abilities. Neva touched the metallic collar still around her throat. This one's still active. It prevents me from accessing the mental connection my people share. Can I remove it? She shook her head. Not without the key. But without it, I can't prove what I'm telling you. My people could verify everything through shared memory. The distant howl of desert predators urged them onward. As they walked, Riker found himself studying her movements. Graceful, despite her exhaustion, each step deliberate. Even if what you say is true, he said finally, what difference would it make? The conflict shaped both our societies. The peace is fragile at best. Because they're planning to shatter that peace, Neva replied. A false flag attack on both settlements, reigniting the war. And it's scheduled to happen within days. Riker stopped. That's a serious accusation. Why do you think they were so desperate to silence me? Her eyes held his. Those who chained me there knew I wouldn't survive another day. In the moonlight, with the desert wind whispering around them, Riker made his second life-altering decision of the day. My shelter is just beyond that ridge, he said. Let's get you safely inside. Then you can tell me everything. Sanctuary Riker's shelter was more than the crude prospector's shack Neva had expected. Built into the side of a mesa, its exterior camouflaged to match the surrounding stone. It offered a surprisingly comfortable haven from the harsh desert. Impressive, she remarked, as he sealed the reinforced door behind them. You've created a proper home here. It's been on New Terra for 15 years, he explained, activating the shelter's systems. Soft amber lighting illuminated the main room with its practical but comfortable furnishings. Started in the settlement, but the politics got suffocating. Neva moved to the viewport, gazing at the star-filled sky. Your people adapt remarkably quickly. Mine spent generations debating whether to even approach this world. Riker set out medical supplies and food rations. Here, let me check those wounds. She sat beside him, wincing as he cleaned the dried blood from her temple. This close, he noticed the subtle luminescence of her skin, pulsing gently with her heartbeat. Your species fascinates me, she said quietly. So brief in lifespan, yet so intensely alive? It's why I became a historian specializing in human-Astra relations, and that led you to these mysterious archives. Neva nodded. The indigenous species of this planet left extensive records before their extinction. Their technology was based on crystalline matrices that our scientists have only recently learned to decode. Riker applied a healing patch to her wound. And what exactly did these archives reveal? That Nexus Corporation discovered the properties of a mineral called quatrium decades before either of our species arrived. It's essential for instantaneous interstellar communication worth fortunes. But its refinement requires specific conditions. Conditions like what? The resonance patterns created by astra-telepathic fields interacting with human brainwave signatures in conflict. Simply put, Our species fighting creates the perfect refinement catalyst. That sounds ... plausible, I know. But the science is sound. The indigenous people discovered this property, and it destroyed their civilization. They left warnings we've ignored. As night deepened, they shared a simple meal. Neva seemed fascinated by the taste of synthesized protein, while Riker watched her movements with undisguised curiosity. "The collar," he said finally. "It's hurting you, isn't it?" She touched it reflexively. "Being cut off from the collective consciousness of my people is ... disorienting. Like losing a sense." "I have contacts in the settlement who might help," Riker offered. "Though bringing you there would be risky. More risky than you know." Neva leaned forward. "Jace will have reported me missing. There will be search parties not to rescue me, but to silence me permanently." The shelter's security system chimed softly, detecting movement outside, likely just desert wildlife. But Riker checked the monitors anyway. "We're safe for tonight," he assured her. "Tomorrow, we'll figure out our next move." Neva's hand briefly touched his. "Your kindness could cost you everything. Why take that risk for a stranger?" "Maybe I'm tired of living in a world built on lies," Riker said simply, as she settled into the sleeping alcove he'd prepared. Riker noticed how the starlight through the viewport caught in her silver hair. Something protective stirred within him, a feeling he hadn't experienced since leaving Earth years ago. Outside, the desert winds picked up, carrying distant sounds that might have been vehicles, might have been thunder. Trust and Betrayal Dawn arrived with the harsh buzz of Riker's security system. He jolted awake, checking the monitors to find 3 vehicles approaching from the direction of the settlement. "Neva," he called, already gathering essential supplies. "We have company." She emerged from the sleeping alcove, instantly alert. "Nexus security? Settlement patrol markings? But that means nothing. They could be Nexus contractors." Riker handed her a pack. "There's a network of caves to click south. We can lose them there."
As they prepared to leave,
the communication system crackled. "Prospector Riker," a familiar voice announced. "This is Commander Penn. We know you're harboring an astrofugitive. Surrender her immediately, and you'll face minimal consequences." Riker exchanged glances with Neva. Penn had been a friend once, before Riker left the settlement. "What do they really want with you?" he whispered. "The data crystal," she replied, revealing a small, iridescent object concealed in her clothing. "Proof of everything I told you. They can't let it reach either settlement." Making a swift decision, Riker activated the communication system. "Penn, it's Riker. The Astra is here by my invitation. She has critical information affecting both our species." A pause. "You're being manipulated, Riker." "Astra telepathy, she's wearing a suppression collar," he interrupted. "No telepathy involved. Just give us a chance to explain." Another voice cut in smooth, professional. "Riker, this is Jace Vorden, Nexus Corporation liaison. The Astra prisoner is dangerous. She murdered 3 researchers and stole proprietary technology." Neva's eyes widened. "That's him," she whispered. "The one who betrayed me." Riker nodded grimly. "Vorden, I know what Nexus is planning. The manufactured conflict, the quatrium refinement process. We have proof." The silence that followed was telling. "Open the door, Riker," Penn said finally. His tone changed. "We can discuss this reasonably." "Like you reasonably chained her in the desert to die?" Riker activated the shelter's secondary systems. "One's not on any official blueprint." "I think we'll pass on the discussion." With a pneumatic hiss, hidden panels opened in the floor. "Underground passage," he explained to Neva, "connects to the cave system. Prospector's insurance policy." As they descended, the sounds of the patrol attempting to breach the shelter's defenses echoed above. "They'll follow," Neva warned. "But we'll have a head start." The tunnel was narrow, forcing them to move in single file. After several minutes of tense silence, Neva spoke. "You believed me, despite everything you've been taught about my kind." "I believe evidence," Riker replied. "And my instincts? Both say you're telling the truth." They emerged into a vast cavern glittering with crystal formations. Neva gasped, reaching toward them with reverence. "These are similar to the archives," she whispered. "Perhaps connected ... A distant explosion reverberated through the caves, the patrol breaching his shelter. "We need to move," Riker urged, but Neva was transfixed by one crystal formation larger than the others. "This is it," she breathed. A node of the original network. She pressed her data crystal against it, and both began to glow with increasing intensity. "What are you doing?" Riker asked, nervously eyeing the tunnel entrance. "Sending the truth to both settlements simultaneously," she explained. "Through the planet's own communication network." The crystal pulsed with light, and suddenly the suppression collar around Neva's neck deactivated. Falling to the ground with a clatter, her eyes met Riker's, now glowing with inner light. "Now I can show you everything." She reached for his hands just as the first pursuers appeared at the tunnel entrance. A new beginning. Neva's touch sent a cascade of images flooding through Riker's mind. Crystal clear memories, historical records, scientific data, all confirming everything she had told him. He witnessed the indigenous species' downfall, Nexus Corporation's discovery, the carefully orchestrated tensions between humans and Astras. As the mental connection faded, Riker staggered, overwhelmed by the experience. "Now you understand," Neva said softly. The armed figures at the tunnel entrance hesitated, weapons raised but not firing. Among them, Commander Penn looked confused, pressing his hand to his ear as if receiving new information. "The signal reached the settlements," Neva explained. "Everyone with a communication device is receiving the truth. The collective consciousness of my people is also spreading it." Jace Vorden pushed past the security team, his face contorted with rage. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" "The contracts, the investments, saved countless lives," Riker interrupted, stepping protectively in front of Neva. Penn lowered his weapon slowly. "Riker, is this true?" Nexus engineered the conflict. Before Riker could answer, the cavern trembled as a new group entered from another passage tunnel. Iridescent figures similar to Neva Astra's, their leader stepped forward, her silver hair elaborately braided with crystal shards. "Nevason, historian and truth-seeker," she acknowledged with a formal gesture. "Your signal reached the High Council." Vorden lunged suddenly, drawing a concealed weapon. "This ends now." Multiple things happened simultaneously. Riker moved to shield Neva. Penn shouted a warning, and the Astra leader raised her hand. Vorden froze in place, suspended by an invisible force. "Enough blood has been shed for your corporation's greed," the Astra leader stated. The cavern fell silent except for the soft hum of the crystal network, now pulsing in rhythmic patterns of light. "What happens now?" Riker asked, looking between the human and Astra contingents. Neva stood tall between them. "Now we build something new. Together." In the days that followed, New Terra underwent a transformation. The evidence exposed Nexus Corporation's manipulation, leading to their executives' arrest and the dissolution of their contracts. Human and Astra representatives met in neutral territory, Riker's rebuilt shelter, to negotiate a genuine peace. Neva became the primary liaison between species, her historian's knowledge proving invaluable in healing old wounds. Riker worked alongside her, his prospector's knowledge of the planet's resources, helping to create sustainable development plans that benefited both settlements. One evening, as the twin suns set over the desert, they stood together on the mesa overlooking the newly established joint research station built near the crystal caves. "Your first words to me were a request for water," Riker said, taking her hand. "But they changed everything." Neva smiled, her skin luminescent in the fading light. "Sometimes the simplest needs reveal our common ground. We both require sustenance, safety, connection," Riker added, drawing her closer. "Yes," she agreed, her violet eyes meeting his. The most essential element of all, as stars appeared above them. Human and Astra researchers moved below, working together to understand the ancient technology that had once destroyed a civilization, but now offered hope for unity. "They'll name this period in history after you someday," Riker murmured. Neva shook her head. "They'll name it after us. All of us who chose truth over comfortable lies." The desert wind carried the sounds of both human and Astra voices blending in conversation. Laughter and song, a harmony few had thought possible just days before. To think, Riker said. It all began with a man who couldn't walk past someone in chains. Then an alien who dared to speak her first words to a stranger, Neva finished, leaning her head against his shoulder as the first moon rose to illuminate their new beginning. Retry.